Let us now move on with the third and fourth kind of statement, which are the inverse and contrapositive statements. In the conditional statement, P implies Q, or the hypothesis implies the conclusion. While in the inverse statement, it is the negation of the conditional. We will have not P in the if part, and then it will imply not Q in the then part. And for the contrapositive statement, we will have still the negation of the Q in the if part. It will imply the negation of P, which is the hypothesis, in the then part. We can get the contrapositive statement using the conditional statement, but we can also use the converse statement. We will just negate Q implies the negation of P. And then we can also use the inverse statement. We will just interchange the place of the statement in if to the statement in then. Let us have example number 1. The conditional statement is, if a number is prime, then it is odd. Our inverse statement will be if, and then we will negate the hypothesis, a number is prime. A number is prime is a positive statement, so we will just add not. So it will become a number is not prime. Then the conclusion is it is odd, so we will make it in the negative statement. It will become it is not odd. So our inverse will be if a number is not prime, then it is not odd. For the contrapositive statement, if we will first negate the conclusion, it is odd, it will become it is not odd. And then the hypothesis a number is prime, it will become a number is not prime. Or you can just use the inverse statement above. You will just interchange the position of the hypothesis and the conclusion. Either way, you can get the right answer. Example number 2. The conditional statement is, if triangle is isosceles, then it has two congruent sides. For the inverse, we will have if, we will get the negation of the hypothesis, triangle is isosceles, it will become triangle is not isosceles. Then, the conclusion will be negative. It has two congruent sides. It will become it has no two congruent sides. And then for the contrapositive, we will negate first the conclusion. It has two congruent sides. It will become it has no two congruent sides. And then for the hypothesis, it will be in the then part. Triangle is isosceles will become triangle is not isosceles. So that's how you make the contrapositive statement. Example number 3. Conditional statement is, if points are collinear, then they lie on the same line. For the inverse, it will become, if points are not collinear, then they do not lie on the same line. So here in the negation, you can use different kinds of words will make the statement negative. And then for the contrapositive, we will have if they do not lie on the same line, then points are not collinear. Let's have example number 4. For the conditional, if lines are parallel, then they do not intersect. Let's have the inverse. If the hypothesis is, it will become lines are not parallel. Then, conclusion, it will become they intersect. Remember, in getting the negation, if the statement is positive, you will turn it into negative. So you can use the words no, not, do not. But if the statement is already negative, you will just change it into the positive form. So you need to remember that. From positive, it will become negative, but if it is in negative, you will make it positive. For the contrapositive, if they do not intersect will become they intersect, then lines are parallel will become lines are not parallel. Example number 5. For the conditional, if a triangle has no congruent sides, then it is scalene. For the inverse, if a triangle has congruent sides, since it has already no in the statement, you will just remove it, then it is not scalene. For the contrapositive, if it is not scalene, then a triangle has congruent sides. Now, let us recall the if-then statements. We have conditional, it is P implies Q. Converse, it is Q implies P. Inverse, it is the negation of P implies the negation of Q. Contrapositive, it is the negation of Q implies the negation of P.